Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's September the 2nd, and this will be our chart lesson for the day. This market just keeps going. Don't argue with it. I mean, literally, we're 15 points away from hitting 3,600. It was just a couple of days ago we were at 3,500. So it wasn't very long. Just a week ago we were 3,400. So this market's rallied 200 points in just a week or so, a week or two. So this is a market that's just not going to seem to quit. So where it's going to find some resistance and turn down, who knows? Just stay with it. Don't argue with it. That's the key. Just stay with the trend and don't argue with it. And today looked very similar to yesterday. We had kind of a flatter two-tiered channel, and we had a break. We moved to a new high. And we just kept going, really. You would want to measure this first leg here and look for the measured move, and that fits so really nicely right where you would expect to kind of see prices go to, the upper side of the trend channel. And you can see we got there and found a little resistance, but once we bounced off of this trend line a couple more times, this thing just keeps going. People just keep buying it, so you can't argue with it. Just go with, don't trade what you think or what you expect. The chart will tell you, so just stay with the price action. But I'm trying to see, there's several channels. I mean, again, it looked almost, you could really trade this both ways until this rally started right here. You can see prices above and below the EMA until here, and we're pretty much above it. The rest of the way we had a little bit of a correction here, and you would expect that to be the middle of the target, which I didn't show you that one. You can see that was that first measured leg. And then once we went higher from there, look for a measured move. And you can see there it is. We didn't quite get there. Of course, we may still get there yet, but we didn't quite get there. We missed that by a point or so, maybe 2 points. I'm not sure how much, but you can see the highs right there, and there was been your measured move. So we didn't miss it by much. Would have given you a great place to look for a target at anyway. So but let's back out. We'll talk about the trades and we'll go from there. Try to make this bigger where everybody can see it. But when 7 o'clock came along, we were really just kind of working sideways here. There's a second entry short right here, but you don't want to go short. This is just a little trading range, kind of congested looking. The EMA is starting to turn over and turn down. This is off the key entry point, but that's just not bearish enough. And I think there's probably enough room to get out of there, but you can see it bounce pretty quickly. And then finally we get a triple test of that. And I would have liked this one better. It broke higher. I would have liked it better if it would have broke out the low side all in one bar and gone short one tick there. The way it is, the key is you got to have enough room to get out before here. This bar is bearish enough here, so you could enter there. And there's another lower high here. It actually makes a little double top right there, you can see, and drops on down. But you don't want to go short in the middle of a little range like that. I mean, especially with that being a break of this two-tiered channel, because it could just drop a tick below this or here to make a new low and then rally out of here. So you can't risk it. If you got in here, you probably got this whole, you probably could have got a runner anyway. So this turns out to be a nice little move. And of course, now you've had your break and a new low, and you just get a two-legged correction here. Let me back out here a minute. You wouldn't have had this bigger channel yet, so this is what you're playing. And so you had your break, and then a two-legged correction, and without this here, you don't know that you're not going to get a measured move down. So measure that whole move. Move this over here and stay with this little channel as long as it's in play. So hopefully you can see that, but anyway, notice that you got a new low and you get a first entry and then you get a second entry, but that bar is too bullish, so you can't go short right there on this second entry. But notice it tries to go higher again and gives you a lower high and a big bearish bar. That's where you go short. And you're still expecting prices to try to push a little lower here. There's a little bit, I don't have the lines here. Let me just draw it real quick. There's a little bit of a range across here. I would have had it here at that point. And you can see we're kind of chopping around and you break out. So you're expecting prices at least come back down here and test this. And so when you get this trend line and you get a first entry and a second entry and you got enough room to scalp out there, by all means go short. And then it runs down, it bounces. And you run it up and you get another first entry and another second entry. You get another little two-legged correction, but you can't, signal bar is no good here. There is a break in new high. Wait and see if you get a lower high and you just don't get it. And you actually run down here and you get a first entry long and then the second entry long, and that's a higher low. It actually ticks lower and there's plenty of room back to the EMA. So you may take that trade just hoping to catch an important low. And guess what? If you catch that, that's a fairly important low. It doesn't turn out, prices do come back and test that again, but they really took off from there. So then we're working up. You just too congestive here, too sideways. Then you pull back, first entry, second entry, and this does look a little congestive as well, but that's a clear trend channel working up, and that's the first break and a second entry long right there. I like going long just to see if you get a new high there. Plus, it's also a little pullback to test this breakout area right across here. Let me move this line up now, and you can kind of see it right across there. Just a pullback to test that. And you try to go lower once, twice, three times. I like going long there. Of course, it runs up, makes a new high, and then you're working lower. And notice that new high, you're working down, and you get a first entry long. You're working down, and then you get a second entry long right there. It goes higher first and fails, and then turns back down. I like going short one tick there. This is a little bit aggressive because usually don't like to go short right into the lows of a move that big. And you notice it didn't go much further before you got a correction. So it's a little risky. I made it green for that reason, but it is a failed second entry short, and this one has played out. So you may take that one. There's a lower high right here, but you don't want to go short right into that EMA, even though it pushed on through. Don't do that. Wait on the true failure, and it's just not a very good setup on a failure. Then you run down, you get your break, you move to a new low, and then you're running back up. First entry, you go higher, and you get a second entry right here when it breaks lower. I was looking to play this second entry right here, but it never broke lower, and then you break higher again and get a failed second entry long if it breaks lower, but that's still also the second entry trigger to the short side, and that does confirm the trend line. So I like going short right there. Runs down all the way to the lows. First entry, second entry. That's a big bearish bar as well, and there's also a little double top here. Normally I'd want to see it come back to the trend channel line, but with that being a second entry and such a good signal bar and a double top, you probably want to risk that one. It's close to being green just because we're not back to the trend channel line or the trend line. But now you finally get a leg back. That's just one leg. I'd count this as a double bottom. That is one leg. So that's a first entry short. But really, this is your signal bar, and it's too bullish. So, and that's just an inside bar. And we didn't break higher here. If we'd have broke higher and turned and went down, I wouldn't have a problem going short one tick below that. But I think it's too risky right there to go short right there. You could argue for it and say, hey, maybe it's a little aggressive, but you could still say, hey. But if it broke higher, no doubt I'd at least make it green. And then we overshoot right here. Try to go lower again and fail. I wouldn't take any longs here yet. I'd want to see something better than that. But notice this is basically a double bottom again, and you try to go short once. There's two little legs up there. You try to go short once, twice, and that fails. And this is bouncing out at the main trend line. So we're probably going to at least run back to here. And with this overshoot, this might be an important low. And guess what? This thing takes off like a rocket. And you really just don't get another good chance to enter in here. This is too close to here. There's enough room to get out, but look how congested that looks. Really risky. Signal bar is too bad here. Just a first entry there. There's a second. This is actually only a first entry here. You tried to go lower a few times and you get a little test. But again, you're just so far away from the EMA for so long, and you did get an overshoot here. Now a close outside. It could push up a few ticks and turn down. But instead it pushes up a little bit and goes sideways. And you just can't enter in here. There's no good setups until you get a little failed break lower. There's matching lows here. So you could use this for your signal bar. You just have to have room to get out, which there is. And this thing takes on off. That turns out to be a really nice trade. There is a failed second entry short way up here, but you're almost back to the upper side, or at least what you think is going to be the upper side. And even though this would have worked, you see it doesn't take long for testing that upper side, and we're running down the other way. I don't think you want to go short. This is too strong of a trend. Just wait, and you finally come back to the trend line. And this one I meant to mark here. I wanted to make that one green because it is a second entry long at a key entry point. Notice your new high, first entry, second entry. The only reason I didn't make this one blue is because this little channel is working down is in play. There's no break of it or anything. We do get the break here, and then we turn lower, and you get a nice higher low right off the trend line, but guess what? The bar is totally, it's a doji, it's totally neutral, and so I just think that's too risky. And then finally you get a failed second entry short here, and so you may think about going long right there, but the better play is to wait on this next higher low here, and you get a second entry too. Notice that new high, first entry, then you come back and it breaks lower right here, and then it breaks out the other side, second entry. Actually, I don't think it breaks lower there, but it still is a second entry long. And then you come back here. This was probably the safest place to enter because now you got a failed second entry short. And just go long there. It doesn't take it long before it's rocketing on up again. And that got us into 2 o'clock. So this was a pretty important channel right here. And then, of course, there's some important moves within that channel. I made one of them brown here just to kind of, so it's easier to see this channel working up here. And you can see that holding all the way up until we overshot it. And we got back inside it again, and it's holding until it overshoots it again, and then we reversed. So, again, this was a fairly important channel working higher here. And it really won out over the original larger two-tiered channel. So it's almost like there's two different trends here. You've got this one that didn't play out, and we get a break and we just form a completely newer channel. So, and that's after a pretty good correction. So that may be all that's going on there. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you find the channel and you play it. You understand what prices are doing. So anyway, that's what I saw today, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to try. I like to keep these things from 15 to 20 minutes, and the closer to 15 minutes, I think the better. But pretty good trading day today. Quite a few trades today. Several different good trades all the way from really right from the get-go all the way into 2 o'clock. There's a little bit of period here where you had to kind of sit tight, but for the most part, the trading was not too bad today. So again, I don't know where this thing's going. I wouldn't surprise me to see us hit 3,600 before the end of the week, if not during the overnight tonight. So we'll see. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.